What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy. Welcome back to some more Bible reading. So here we are in Exodus chapter 7. Last chapter wasn't really a whole lot that happened, to be honest with you. He got into some genealogy stuff for, Moses and Aaron, basically informing the reader of some of their lineage, and also in part, ancestry-wise, how we got from Jacob and Joseph and them to Moses and Aaron and what's going on now. So, anyway, let's just dive right in here. Chapter 7. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Pay close attention to this. I will make you seem like God to Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron will be your prophet. Tell Aaron everything I command you, and Aaron must command Pharaoh to let the people of Israel leave his country. But I will make Pharaoh's heart stubborn so I can multiply my miraculous signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. Even then Pharaoh will refuse to listen to you. So I will bring down my fist on Egypt. Then I will rescue my forces, my people the Israelites, from the land of Egypt with great acts of judgment. When I raise my powerful hand and bring out the Israelites, the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord." So, Moses had kind of been wondering what was the point of even going back to Egypt, why God would have sent him there if the people were just suffering more. But God's kind of laying things out a bit more clearly to Moses now. So, basically he's going to accomplish a little more than just freeing the Israelites from Egypt. God's also going to make his power known and maybe even feared among the Egyptians. So then they might have stories about it, word might spread to other people regarding God's power. But anyway, if things didn't happen this way, if Pharaoh didn't end up being so stubborn about letting the people go, God wouldn't end up doing all these different, signs and wonders to demonstrate his power. Anyway, verse 8. So Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded them. Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron was 83 when they made their demands to Pharaoh. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Pharaoh will demand, 'Show me a miracle.' When he does this, say to Aaron, 'Take your staff and throw it down in front of Pharaoh, and it will become a serpent.'" So basically, the same kind of thing that God had told Moses to do back when, he was at the burning bush. Footnote, Hebrews tenon, which elsewhere refers to a sea monster. The Greek version translates it dragon. So, more than just a snake, it would seem. But I think, again, I can't help but make some comparisons here to, the Prince of Egypt movie and all that, but it would have made a lot more sense from an animation standpoint. I think at least that would be an easier direction to go with animating the change of staff to snake rather than some other, dragon sort of thing. Or maybe that was just sort of an artistic direction that they decided on, because the way that it happens in the movie is kind of cool, as the staff just kind of sinks downward into a coil of a snake. But it's clear based on this that it might not have really been a snake. Could have been, as the Greek translates it, a dragon or some sort of other, elongated sea creature, potentially. But if it was a sea monster, how would that work with it being on land? I don't know. Maybe like a giant salamander type thing. The Greek version sounds the most epic, though. Anyway, verse 10. So Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and did what the Lord had commanded them. Aaron threw down his staff before Pharaoh and his officials, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh called his own wise men and sorcerers, and these Egyptian magicians did the same thing with their magic. They threw down their staffs, which also became serpents. But then Aaron's staff swallowed up their staffs. Pharaoh's heart, however, remained hard. He still refused to listen, just as the Lord had predicted. Okay, so that was kind of sort of depicted in the Prince of Egypt. The whole, staff of... Actually, Moses, I think, was the one doing that in the Prince of Egypt instead of Aaron. So, slight difference there as well. But still, the staff serpent of Moses and Aaron swallowing the staff serpents of, the magicians of Pharaoh. That was also depicted, and again, may have been a little easier animation-wise, or just the creative direction they decided to take with it. Who knows? I mean, I'm sure somebody knows. But yeah, I digress. In any case, the magicians managed to do the same thing somehow. But it's kind of, the swallowing, or the fact that the staff Moses and Aaron used swallowed the serpents that the magicians used still kind of shows its superiority in a way, but not enough so that Pharaoh would have been impressed, clearly. Okay, verse 14. Then the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh's heart is stubborn, and he still refuses to let the people go. So go to Pharaoh in the morning as he goes down to the river. Stand on the bank of the Nile and meet him there. Be sure to take along the staff that turned into a snake. Then announce to him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has sent me to tell you, let my people go, so they can worship me in the wilderness. Until now you have refused to listen to him. So this is what the Lord says. I will show you that I am the Lord. Look, I will strike the water of the Nile with this staff in my hand, and the river will turn to blood. The fish in it will die, and the river will stink. The Egyptians will not be able to drink any water from the Nile. So, this is probably a bit more closely and accurately depicted in the Prince of Egypt, but I mean, there might have been some slight changes in the wording of what Moses said, but still, like, that seems like something where there would be less reason to try and really change it in any particular way. But still, it's, in terms of, just examining the verses themselves and what they say, God's just giving another sign to Pharaoh, but also he's making other Egyptians aware now by, turning the water from the Nile River into blood, and it having significant effects for the other people, not just Pharaoh. So there's sort of an escalation of the stakes. Also, footnote for stubborn, just heavy. Huh. Rather than, I would have thought it would translate more accurately to hard, but I guess kind of similar notion there. Anyway, verse 19. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron, take your staff and raise your hand over the waters of Egypt, all its rivers, canals, ponds, and all the reservoirs. Turn all the water to blood. Everywhere in Egypt the water will turn to blood, even the water stored in wooden bowls and stone pots." So that right there would seemingly kind of nullify the attempt of the magicians after the fact, at least as it was depicted in the movie, because it was like, well, God was actually the one doing that, not the magicians. The way it shows in The Prince of Egypt, the magicians then do their own, turning water in a bowl into blood as sort of a retort to Moses and God's act of turning the Nile to blood. But also, I guess God was saying earlier that he would strike the water, because the way it was worded made it seem like, okay, yeah, God's saying, look, I will strike the water of the Nile with this. Well, okay, so God was telling Moses to say, I will strike the water of the Nile with this staff in my hand. Again, the word strike there almost makes you think that it's going to be like okay, he puts his staff in it or does something with the staff hitting the water to make it turn to blood. But strike could just mean that it could just refer to the act of turning the water into blood is the striking in and of itself, not so much whatever action is performed with the staff. Anyway, verse 20. So Moses and Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded them. As Pharaoh and his officials watched, Aaron raised his staff and struck the water of the Nile. Suddenly the whole river turned to blood. The fish in the river died, and the water became so foul that the Egyptians couldn't drink it. There was blood everywhere throughout the land of Egypt. But again, the magicians of Egypt used their magic, and they too turned water into blood. So Pharaoh's heart remained hard. He refused to listen to Moses and Aaron, just as the Lord had predicted. Pharaoh returned to his place and put the whole thing out of his mind. Then all the Egyptians dug along the riverbank to find drinking water, for they could not drink the water from the Nile. 7 days passed from the time the Lord struck the Nile. Okay. And that, I assume, will lead into the next chapter and what happens then. The Egyptians dug along the riverbank, so it's you would still think that water would essentially be from the Nile, but I guess because of God not necessarily wanting to, have all the Egyptians die outright from the lack of water, that was sort of the allowance made, so to speak. And it does say in here the magicians turned water into blood as well, so I suppose that's not really an inaccuracy on the part of the movie. But anyway, so yeah, God turns all the water from the Nile into blood. And obviously it has significant effects. you almost wonder if or at least I reading this, being somewhat detail-minded, kind of wonder if the stink from the river was caused more so by the blood itself or by all the fish that died because of it turning to blood. We all know the fish could do that. The blood, I mean, could potentially also as well. I mean, it's funny the correlation this has to something I just watched earlier today. I was watching a YouTube video, and I think it was actually Markiplier playing that one game called Iron Lung, and the fact that it was supposed to be a lake or ocean of blood that the vessel was navigating through. But within that video, there was mention of resources that could be drawn from the blood, but also it was Markiplier almost gave the impression that blood could be consumed and would bring about some benefits, but then Lixian in all his editing and stuff kind of made an asterisk editor's note to solidify the point that drinking blood can definitely cause some gastrointestinal problems. Not recommended to just drink blood straight up. So it's the connection of the possible consuming blood or wanting to avoid consuming blood as it relates to the the scene going on in Egypt here. That was the connection in my brain. Sorry for bit of a tangent there, but it was related. So all that to say, drinking blood, not a great idea. Not exactly something you could live off of for very long. So, anyway, the water is stricken, turned to blood. Things go bad for multiple people, at least for a while. And they certainly have to put some work into finding water for themselves. So anyway, that does it for this chapter. God is starting to, demonstrate his power, but Pharaoh is still unconvinced, as things stand. Alright, so that's going to do it for this time around. As always, like and share if you enjoyed the video, subscribe and click the bell to get updates when I post new ones. Look down in the description for info on social media pages and how to find and follow and all that good stuff. And of course, leave comments down below all that with any thoughts that you have. So yeah, that's it. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you for the next chapter of Bible reading. But until then, stay cool, people.